Hello everyone and welcome to Walford Weekly, your weekly EastEnders podcast, where this week we'll be discussing the episodes released on the BBC in the UK from Monday the 14th to Thursday the 17th of November 2022. I hope you're all well. I trust that you all are. All of our listeners or watchers up in Scotland, I hope you're staying safe and got your dinghy all patched up and inflatable, ready to sail away if necessary as we go down into the sea from all the water raining down from the sky. I am Alex and I'm already talking nonsense, and I hope that you are happy to see that I am also joined by my good friend Rob. Hello Rob, please save me.
I mean, it's like doing a podcast with Michael Fish, isn't it? That was the most meteorologically accurate thing I've ever heard in my life. All the water raining down from the sky. Oh dear. I'm very well, thank you, Alex. How are you this week? Are you well?
I'm very good. Good. We, as I said to you in a text before we started today, it was a bit of a Freaky Friday moment this week. Yes. Lindsay Lohan to my Jamie Lee Curtis, because I got up late because I've slept in, and Rob got up very early. This is a real role reverse of the. I know
the world. Honestly. It's craziness. The other thing I wanted to ask about, Alex, I mean, if you are any way on social media, it'll not have escaped your attention. The world of social media is going a bit mental at the moment. As we record this, there seems to be some madness going on at Twitter, which is basically quite a vital platform for our social medias.
Yes.
Right? Whatever goes on, we will try to keep you informed in some way, whether that be through Facebook, whether that be through TikTok, whether that be through Instagram or smoke signals. We will try and get some sort of communication to you about what may or may not happen. Frankly, I've never heard of Mastodon apart from in the Power Rangers. Mastodon. That's all I know.
Yes.
All I know.
Well, I know of Mastodon, but I know nothing of how to use
nothing
Mastodon.
About it.
It's
was it a dinosaur?
To me.
Was it a dinosaur? Mastodon. Or the Power Rangers made that word up?
Mastodon. Well, is it? I don't know. It's got a Don at the end. It might be a Pokemon for all we know.
Yeah, it might be a Pokemon. I can't wait. Very exciting.
We've only got Rob's time for a short amount of time today because a new Pokemon game's coming out. So Rob is literally just champing at the bit just to get cracking it open and start playing it. So
catch 'em all. Yes,
Mastodon. So if he seems a bit distant, then that's probably the reason why. But yeah, I know. I mean, as you said quite rightly, everyone can get in touch with us on many other mediums. We're not just primarily we are on Twitter, but we're on Instagram and all those. But mad. So we'll keep you updated if anything should happen with our Twitter account. Elon Musk could indeed say that we're a parody account and get rid of us. Who knows?
In some ways, he wouldn't be wrong, would he? He wouldn't.
No, the BBC would agree with that. I'd say
BBC would love it.
But yes, so hello everyone who's watching us right now on YouTube. Don't forget you can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of your favorite podcast apps. And I think that's all the groundwork done, Rob. Shall we get on with it? Shall we start talking about our favorite show in the whole wide world?
In the whole wide world? Go on then.
So we are starting with a very sensitive story, with Amy's self-harm story. I'd just like to start off by saying that there may be some conversations that some people may find difficult to listen to or uneasy. And if it's something you don't want to listen to, then please feel free to skip forward to the next conversation where we'll be talking about Felix, Finley and Whitney. I also put in the show notes phone lines and websites that may be helpful if you wanted to talk about this in more detail with someone who's a bit more professional and also has skills in that area. Anyway, we're going to be talking about, as we say, Amy's story then, and her self-harming being discovered by Sam this week, and how Jack and Denise are coping with it. And of course, indeed, how Amy is coping with it as well, and how the world around her has caused her to get to this position by Denzel and Nugget and other people in school bullying her. And on social media and obviously face to face as well. I mean, I have to say that this was the real highlight of the week. It was done so well, so professionally, and so with heartfelt and real intent. And when sometimes EastEnders says like, oh, we spoke to charities and we did this, that, and the other, and sometimes you just think, oh, that's lip service. You're just saying that just to kind of like, lay the ground here. It felt real that they had the way that it was performed, the way the conversations were played out. You saw it from both sides. They're very panicked, they're very worried, they're very scared. Jack, Amy feeling a bit trapped, confused by, she's not really sure why she's doing it herself, but she knows it feels right to do it. Denise kind of watching it from the outside, trying to get in and Amy opening up to her. And I thought there was a bit of discussion online about whether they should have shown the scars or the cuts on Amy. And I think that the right decision was made not to show them, because that, for lack of a better term, could be seen as glamorizing it a little bit. And that was another conversation they were having on the show this week about how, like, on Instagram, how there's actual websites which encourages you and teaches you how to do it in a way where it's, you know, almost seen as kind of like it's the solution for them. I mean, how, you know, go through some of the stories, go through some of the plots, how the characters played out. What did you think?
I mean, for a start, you know, even at face value, everyone played a blinder this week. And I mean that from actors, writers, directors. The whole thing was so well done this week. I mean, this was a hard watch. No two ways about it. You know, even though we didn't really see anything, it was a really tough watch, especially Monday's episode, where we actually sort of saw Amy actually self-harming, which I've got to be honest, there was elements of this week that I'm surprised they went as far as they did. Never mind people say, oh, well, we could have seen that, we should have seen that. I'm surprised we went as far as we did with it. It was done in a way that I think only EastEnders can do. I don't think any of the other soaps, possibly Hollyoaks, but again, you know, that's very much in its own bracket a lot of the time, and they're not really afraid of going into crazy territory. But in terms of, you know, 7:30 on BBC One, that's about as near to the knuckle as you can possibly go with it. You know, and even during that scene where Amy was actually hurting herself, I was kind of I don't know what I was expecting to see, you know, so I wasn't sure how far they were going to go, because it's EastEnders and I didn't know exactly what they were going to show, because they would have had good reasons to do whatever they wanted to do. But Sam walking in, it was interesting. The whole thing was sort of, it didn't feel like an issue-based storyline for a start. It felt like there was a lot of character relevance in there, which that's how you do an issue-based storyline. I was very, very relieved that Sam told Jack more or less straight away, because I thought they were going to do some horrible thing with Sam where she actually just keeps it a secret just for her own good. And I'm so pleased they didn't go down that route with Sam. But then Jack's reaction to it, I think, was unsurprising. I think that's pretty much what we
completely
expected from Jack.
In his character
from the son of Jim Branning. I think we can pretty much imagine how any of the Brannings would have reacted to that. There was so many elements of Max in Jack this week, I thought, as well. Like a lot of Jack's dialogue you could have quite easily given to Max, and the way he reacted to it. But even, you know, the counselling session that they went to, and when the therapist started trying to explain to Amy, you know, if you're going to do this, you shouldn't be doing it with dirty items, that causes infection. Again, I was amazed that they said that, but not in a bad way, because that is so important, you know. And something like this, I mean, I'm not great with all this sort of thing. I've got to be honest. It's, you know, it makes me feel all funny, and that's not, you know, that's nothing against the show, because, you know, that's just a personal thing. But for them to actually go as far to say that shows that they've done the research, and it shows that they know what they're talking about. It was so well handled. It was brilliant, and everybody played an absolute blinder. Ellie Dad, welcome to EastEnders, by the way, as well. Like, that girl, she's fine. She'll be okay.
She's done all right, isn't she?
But I have to say, the kids as a whole, as in this kid group, I have to say, I cannot remember the last time I saw a group of teenagers so well represented on the soap in such a long, long time. I mean, even in EastEnders, you know, we've looked at like groups of kids or kid characters in The Passengers, and you can just find yourself cringing because it doesn't feel real. It feels like a 70-year-old trying to write how they think a kid would be these days, and they've looked on Google, saw a few words, and tried to just throw them into the sentence. So all these kids feel really authentic, don't they? Especially this week. But yeah, the whole thing with Denise, I thought Denise was fantastic this week. And where does it go from here? Because clearly this isn't over yet either. This wasn't just a week of, right, okay, so this is the week we talk about self-harm. This is clearly going on, because at some point Amy stole Denise's scissors. Denise is sort of aware of that, but no, those scissors didn't get returned at any point during this week. So the storyline is going to continue from this point onwards. I mean, how far are they going to go with it, do you think? Where do you reckon it's going to go?
Well, I mean, with scissors that hairdressers use, they are incredibly sharp, and I feel like that could be a lead to Amy perhaps doing something wrong. Maybe, and you know, it could be too deep, and so causing her to, you know, having to go to hospital for it. I as you say, I thought it was completely right the way that Jack was reacting. He was completely, it was out of his wheelhouse, and so he didn't know. Yeah. You know, he knows how to solve crime and criminals and this, that, and the other, not look after teenage girls. Well, better than he knows how to look after teenage girls' feelings.
Yeah, absolutely.
And nurture them. And the therapy session I thought was great, because I thought that if someone's doing something, the last thing they need to hear is to be told to stop. If you tell someone to stop, they're not going to stop. It's like people with a drug habit,
addictions. Exactly.
Or addictions. You go to a therapy, they will give you clean needles. They know you're going to do it, so they're giving you a means to do it in a safer way, in a safer environment. There's actual places where drug people who have a habit, they can go and actually perform it, so they're not like in the street or in like a dirty den or anything like that. They're in a clean, safe, sterilized environment to do it to themselves. And then when they are taking the drugs, they're looked after by someone who can take care of them. So again, as you say, it was done in such a subtle way that you could clearly see that they'd got this advice, they found this information, and it's done considerably, but done in a way that you're not feeling like you're preached to. And that's
that's brilliant. So important. That's so important. Because when you're doing a storyline like this and the audience starts to feel preached to, they turn off. And for important issues, or as in like turn off mentally, but don't listen to what you're actually trying to say to them. And for a storyline like this, that is so important, because EastEnders has got a very young audience demographic. There'll be people of Amy's age who are watching EastEnders, and they most likely will be people who are going through Amy's storyline that will be watching EastEnders this week. And at no point this week did I ever, like I say, I have very little experience with this sort of thing, so maybe I'm not qualified to say this, but at no point this week did I watch this storyline and think, oh, that was a bit preachy, or that was a bit like I thought they absolutely nailed it perfectly. With regards to the scene where Amy showed Denise her scars, I think not sure. I did wonder when it was kind of going into that. Okay, she's going to show her scars in a minute. How are they going to go about this? There would be many reasons why they weren't allowed to show that, and why they shouldn't have showed that, and why they did it right. Because looking at someone's arm, will it sort of suggest where to do it, how to do it, all that kind of thing. They've got to be so careful with this sort of thing. And I think they've nailed it. I really do. Massive applause to them. I not a bad word to say about this storyline at all. No. It's so good. So good. So difficult to watch. And captivating. Utterly captivating and heartbreaking and wow. I mean, I just remember like you turning around and saying right when the Amy was recast, there's a dark storyline heading her way. Oh, clearly, you ain't kidding. Like you ain't.
Well, it went completely a bit the other way, didn't it? We predicted it might have been a pregnancy storyline. However, that's now being thrown onto the shoulders of a different character, isn't it? Have you seen on Twitter that people?
I've seen rumors. I have seen rumors. We don't know if they're true or not, but we'll see.
Again, it's just rumors. I want to talk about also Denzel's relationship with his dad Howie, and also Patrick, because Howie's getting
perfect this week.
Wasn't he just?
I thought Patrick was perfect this week. I loved Patrick.
Denzel's getting very upset, frustrated. He's worried for Amy as well. He's panicking over Amy. He feels like he did the wrong thing when he defended Nugget at the beginning of the week, which caused Amy to kind of then leave, then to self-harm. And he doesn't obviously know that Amy's self-harming, but he knows that Amy's in a very dark place right now. And he shares his concerns, first of all, with Patrick. And then Patrick quite cleverly gets Howie in on the act while then turning off the internet, which upset Kim. No, which lovely. Again, Kim performed so well. I mean, I don't mind Kim being a kind of a comedy character, but it was there was the rough with the smooth, the yin and the yang. She had that comedy. Yeah. She had other moments this week.
It wasn't jarring though. Like sometimes Kim in the past has sort of almost barged her way in to be funny into a serious scene, just to try so they can try and do that light with the dark. It worked this week because she was within the family that it was happening in, and because Kim was involved. Like Denise kind of told her what was going on. There was a sense of knowing there where Kim. I loved it when Kim was sort of like when Amy arrived in the salon and Denise was like, "Yeah, can you give us a moment?" Yep, I'm gone. Bye, see you later. And just like basically ran out of the salon. Like that was very Kim. I thought.
Absolutely. And I just thought again that unit, the B&B. It's not the B&B anymore, is it? But I like to still call it the B&B.
It'll always be the B&B.
It'll always be the B&B. When Denzel has that conversation while they're playing dominoes, and it was just. Again, it was just opening up the story, making it more three-dimensional. So yes, there's the Amy aspect of it, and then there's her friends part of it. And it's not taking the shine away from Amy's problem and her situation and how
Not at
she's
all.
feeling, but there's multifacets to it, and they showed that, and I love that. They showed Jack struggling with it. They showed Denise trying her best, trying to keep the family together. There's as I say, there's Denzel who's concerned and wants to, you know, but is being told to stay away. There's just so much to it. So much.
I mean, I thought it was quite evident that this week as a whole, the whole show this week, there seemed to be a theme of sort of dads struggling with their children, like how difficult it is to be a dad to young people.
Some more successful than others.
I mean, yeah. Well, regardless of what you may or may not think of the Alfie aspect of the week this week, it was still within that theme of, like, at the end of the day, all of that was because he was trying to provide for his kids and trying to be as good a dad as he could possibly be, to varying success. But we'll come to that in a moment. You know, and I love that theme this week, especially at this, you know, with two separate dads trying to do that, with Howie trying to do that with Denzel and Jack trying to do it with Amy. And yeah, I mean, Patrick's involvement this week was absolutely perfect. I utterly adore his relationship with Denzel. Like, Patrick and Denzel are I love them on screen together.
It's nice to see a grandfather and grandchild relationship, isn't it?
It's lovely, and that's going to go for and that if they do it right will be something really strong to take forward in sort of in later years. You know, as Denzel grows up, as Patrick grows older, those two I think should become really, really close, and that'll be lovely. Because
I can see stories. I can look right into the future. I can see stories where if eventually, I get that Patrick and Denzel aren't blood related, but it's like that kind of relationship. Before, comment below when we're wrong, and like, they will. I can see,
they will.
But I can see like a bit like when Pat was on her deathbed and Janine came running in, and you know, and Tiffany kind of sat on the end. I can see that kind of relationship happening when, if Patrick was to like be like on his last days, that it will hit hard Denzel the most, like Denzel, because they, like you say, they've got that relationship, and it's a relationship you see very rarely actually on soaps. There's always a father and son or a mother and daughter, and kind of like a much older sage-like character like Patrick, who's looking for a much younger.
Corey tends to do it quite a lot, I've noticed. Like Roy is a sort of character they'll do that with quite a lot. You know, the minute he's got his thing with Nina, he had it with Becky in when she was around. So Corey has kind of nailed that relationship with Roy very well, and sometimes with Ken. He said, like you say, hasn't really delved into it all that much. So to see Patrick and Denzel having this relationship where it seems that Patrick is ready to just kind of sit on the sidelines, waiting for the rest of the family to mess up with Denzel, and then he'll step in and save the day. And Denzel
will stream himself.
He will, and I mean, I loved Patrick trying to play the video game this week. That was just perfect, just to try and get on his level. He was he played that perfectly and expertly. I absolutely loved that. I love it. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot. There was a huge amount to this story. It was a tricky watch, and it will continue. So obviously, in the comment section below, if you needed any proof that me and Alex don't write this podcast and we sort of go on up, we fly by the seat of our pants. This kind of discussion does prove it. So at any point, whenever we discuss anything, as usual, anything that you want to say, stick it in the comment section below. We listen, we read, we comment back, we try to. Let us know what you think of everything that went on in the story this week. And as Alex said, any numbers and websites that you feel, if you are struggling with anything to do with this storyline, click on these show notes at the bottom of the screen.
Next up then is Finley, Felix, Whitney, the odd couple trio thing story that's happening right now. Chelsea's gone away for a few weeks to, I don't know, detox. Did they say where she went? She just went away. She went to see Libby.
I thought she went to see Lily. Yeah.
Have you seen Libby?
I think she was. Have
you seen Libby?
Libby? Recently, no.
She's on an advert, and it just escaped me now what advert it is. Yeah, she's on it's like a supermarket, I think. She's like cooking dinner, and she's like, "Oh, they're coming." And anyway, it's not Libby, obviously.
Right, well, EastEnders, can you save her from that, please? Get her back, thank you. Sort that out.
Got her own little Christmas advert. There you go. So she's making the Christmas money.
Bring Squiggles back. We want Squiggles back, please.
Aye, yeah. So that's what Chelsea's doing right now. She's having dinner cooked for her by Squiggles, and so Felix and Finley decide that while the cat's away, that the mice shall play, and so they encourage Whitney to have a party at Number 1 Albert Square, and at this party we learn that Whitney is horny as hell. She just wants, she's gnawing at those straws. All
you noticed it, didn't you? You noticed it this week. You noticed it. She has started. She is a beaver. That woman. She has turned into a horny little beaver. Whitney Dean.
Her beaver certainly is horny because she
move on.
She's kind of did move on herself, because we've been noticing this week that she's been obsessed with Finley. Then she kind of has the chat with Finley. Finley's a bit like, I see you as a friend, but nothing more than that.
Well, tried to kiss Finley. She tried to kiss Finley.
But then that kind of failed. Then she moved on to Zack. And Zack kind of reciprocated the feelings, even though she did turn up at the party with Mandy. Mandy, who went to school with Bex, who's Martin's daughter.
Poor Martin. Poor Martin. I mean, we've been there. We've all been there. Well, if once you hit, Martin's not even an old man, is he? I don't think Martin's even middle age quite yet.
He's younger than me,
wouldn't he? Is he younger than you? Well, in which case, we've all been at like a party or an event or something where some kid has come around to you and just said something really depressing that's made you realise how much older you are than them. And it's
to be fair. I've had that at work before. Like kids are like, what's it? Vibe. Kids were going around. Young people were going around saying like, "Oh, that's a vibe. That's a vibe." And I was just sat there. What's a vibe? What's a vibe? And then I realised
it's when somebody turned around to you and turned around and like, "Oh, I'll send it in an email." Who sends emails these days? Like, when did emails stop being a thing?
Have I told this story on the podcast? Yeah. Have I told this?
Tell it again.
The long story short is what you've basically said. I said to someone that I was working with who was younger, who's in their early 20s, and I said, I sent an email. And they said, you sent an email? Did you just DM them? And I was like, sorry?
You may as well have said, I sent it in Morse code. Like, it's ridiculous. Anyway.
And I said I Skyped someone, and they literally laughed in my face because I said Skyped. It's like, no, you video called them, did you? I was like, what? How's that now an old thing?
Has holograms appeared? Did we miss the hologram period? I don't know.
I'm going to have a revival and feel like I'm young again,
Yeah. I mean, I'm still on AOL. I've not changed my email address since I was 8.
You are.
At
AOL.
I've changed that. And whenever I say that to anybody, whether it be somebody who's asking my email be on a desk, whether I need to give my email for business purposes, they always look at me and go, I'm sorry, what? AOL? AOL?
Wait till they say Gmail.
What would you rather? If I'm like, what would you rather me do? Like, give a really important person who wants my email for business purposes, and I'll turn around and go, sexyrob@hotmail.com. That's much better.
Hotmail. That's old as well, isn't it?
That's not a thing anymore anyway. No. There we are then. Anyway.
When did we get old?
I don't know. I'm still in my 20s. I'm 18. I don't know about you. Anyway, so Whitney is now after Zack, and Zack apparently is reciprocating.
He is recuperating after this week, I'm sure.
He probably will be. Dirty man.
The pony.
And so will Whitney. Lucky cow.
Is it compulsory? I asked you this before we recorded. Is it compulsory?
Yes, it is.
That every time Zack gets romantic with someone, his shirt has to be not just taken off, ripped off. Every time. Buttons flying all over the place. You have an eye out with a button, I'll tell you.
Anyway, it's marvellous.
Muscles aren't just for show, though.
No, they are not.
Man, no. Come on, then.
And it's not the only one. So
didn't take long for this podcast just to deteriorate into a mess.
Started so well.
I know.
We started so well. We say, we need to be very, very delicate and serious when we do the first discussion. And we've used all of our sense and sensibilities in that first discussion. And now from here on in, it's going to be an absolute
Get ready for the train wreck, guys. Get ready.
So,
subscribe and don't forget to like us. 5 stars on the reviews.
Join our Mastodon.
Whitney did.
Anyway, there we are then. So, right. Whitney and Zack are now a thing because this party went on. Now Finley and Whitney, I'm sort of confused as to when the Zack and Whitney thing actually started. It seems as though Whitney at one point had a period where she was sort of fancying both Finley and Zack, and once Finley made it quite clear, no, then Whitney has sort of just kind of pushed him aside and moved straight on to Zack. Now you aren't as keen on the sort of Whitney, Felix, Finley kind of trio with Chelsea involved as well as I am. I think I quite like Whitney in the minute.
I don't mind it.
I think it's working.
It's nice that it's giving them, as you say, it's working. It's giving them all something to do. It just feels like that Felix and Finley. It feels like they kind of came in and then they kind of now just strolling along, which isn't a bad thing. And I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, everyone can't just come on the show and go from 0 to 60 and be like, have a big storyline and something else.
Know me so well. Mr. Smart Alex.
I am a smart pan.
Smart Alex. Why did that come into my head straight away? You see.
But Felix and Finley, I don't know. But no, I get it. The dynamic is there, and it's nice that they are remembered. But now Whitney is kind of taking. Last week we were saying about this love pentagon between like Whitney, Zack, Finley, perhaps Felix, perhaps Chelsea, because we don't know what Chelsea's feelings. I don't know. I just like throwing in names for the fun of it.
I mean, the thing is, though, I'm not entirely convinced yet that Chelsea didn't have a thing for Zack. So that is still possible. But
doesn't Chelsea have a thing for Finley, though? That's what kind of brought us up saying what's going to happen.
I don't think so. Well, I didn't originally get that sense. I just thought it was all Whitney. But I also feel that the likes of Finley and Zack are somebody that Chelsea would 100% go for. Zack specifically, because they were already working together and they know each other quite well. So they're getting on. And Chelsea has already raised a few eyebrows whenever Zack,
I forget they work at Peggy's,
where he removes his shirts. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm not convinced that at some point there is going to be some sort of thing going on with Chelsea involved as well.
Because, sorry, got excited then because you just popped in my mind. Because obviously there's the Sam jealousy part as well that's attached to it. But also there's a lot of talk about this week between Whitney and Finley and Felix about her wanting to start a family. And then there was a lot of talk with Zack saying how he wants to start a family as well. And he's
Whitney's biological clock is going louder than Big Ben at the moment.
Yeah. So do you think that, something there's going to start developing? Do you think another little
who knows
sprog is on the way?
Well, I don't know if I want Whitney to have a kid. I mean, it's not up to me, but I don't know. Well, no, the thing is though, like it's what I always say about giving giving characters kids. You run the risk, giving characters kids. Is that you run the risk of like the kid just being completely forgotten about because they've realised, actually, this character was much easier to write without a kid. Because how many kids? Like, where's Raymond? Raymond's not been seen since he was born.
Raymond was on this week. He was so cute.
That wasn't Raymond. That was
Mika.
That wasn't Raymond. That was Mika.
But that was Raymond.
It was Mika because Kim had a go at Denzel for shouting at Mika.
No. In the pub when they went to Amy's, not Amy's. It was Ricky's birthday. Was it Ricky's birthday or Amy's birthday?
No, it was Amy's birthday.
Amy's birthday, and they were having a meal in the Vic. Like they were having a proper. I've never seen anyone have just go out and have a meal in the anyway.
A meal at the Vic.
Just go to the
Happy
Vic
birthday. Tights, aren't they? The brand.
It's like going to a Bernie Inn, isn't it? Like or a Harvester. They have a salad bar in the corner where Janine just kind of
just across the road, from where you live. Nice one, Zack.
Free salad bowl as much as you like and a steak. But yeah, no. Raymond was there because when the Sam had arrived, he looks really cute. Raymond is the cutest.
He does. He's very cute kid. But anyway, my point is that kids get forgotten about, and it makes the character. And I feel like
sometimes it makes the character difficult
to shut up. It makes the character difficult to write.
Yes.
It makes the character difficult to write, and I'm kind of reluctant to make that happen to Whitney because Whitney is a character that I really enjoy kind of trying to make her life happen, and then something invariably happens where it stops happening. So I don't know. Apparently, I hear on the grapevine that we have a big sort of Whitney era, like Whitney and Zack ones to keep an eye on as the months go on from here on in.
Okay.
So strokey chin. So we'll see where that goes. But I have to say, I quite like Whitney at the moment in this little group. I like this young group of characters that have managed to sort of kind of get together. I think it's going to be interesting. Once Chelsea returns as well, throw Zack in the mix as well because Zack is around their age. So I think it's a nice group of characters to have. Again, it's like the teenage characters, that you're getting these groups and these clans together. And I think it's working. They might not always get the most exciting stories in the world, but it's about establishing those clans that when the big stories do happen, that you've got all the characters sort of ready to go to make the story as kind of effective as it can be.
Where do you think Bernie would fit? I know this sounds like an odd question, but Millie Zero got announced last week that she was leaving the show. Yes. That Dottie was leaving around about. I think it was around or on the funeral episodes for Dot.
Yes.
So it'll be middle December. Where do you think Bernie's going to fit with all this? Because they're kind of losing characters where Bernie can kind of like fit in. Isn't she a bit?
Yeah, Bernie's sort of floating around at the moment because Tiff's gone, Dottie's going to be gone. So Bernie Bernie is sort of within the Panasar thing working for them. And occasionally will be called upon to babysit someone, but the thing is, Bernie can be a great character. Like when Stuart was like holding up the GPs hostage, Bernie was one of the stars in that week. So kind of like we need to give Bernie something to do as well. So I don't know is the honest answer. Hopefully she will find a place for herself quite soon, because she's a good character who deserves a lot more screen time. So fingers crossed that Clennis has got her in his sights. But let us know in the comment section below. Let us know what you think Bernie's got. Where do you think Bernie could go? Give us some Bernie suggestions, and what do you see the future being for Whitney the Beaver?
We're finishing the week then with Alfie's story. I mean, Alfie's story.
Go on, you do.
I mean, it was just nonsense, wasn't it? Let's be honest. It was just absolute filler nonsense, and I don't know where it's leading to, and I don't know why we had to have it, and it's there. I mean, obviously it's to cause tension between Kat and Phil and Alfie.
Nice bit of comedy, and you're all sort of.
Well, it wasn't comedy though, because
you are a miserable man. A miserable old fart. That's what you are.
At no point did I sit there and think, ha 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 ha, isn't this lighthearted and fun?
No, because you didn't want to like it, Alex. That's
no, I don't go in not wanting to like things. I go in hoping for the best, especially in the Clenners era. But it felt like that I felt like that he took a week off when these episodes were recorded and written, because it was. I know it doesn't.
That is not how it works.
I know it doesn't work like that, but it just felt that way because it just felt so out of place and just like not necessary. Because it starts off the week that he's actively encouraging Bert and Ernie and Tommy to break in to Phil's safe, or Potato Head safe as he's called him, and
why that was happening.
And they did. They did. Out a 4-digit combination, all the numbers in the world. Somehow they worked out that it was the year that some football team won the FA Cup. I mean, really? Is Phil that? If there's anything, it would be like Peggy's birthday or something stupid like that.
I can kind of believe that Phil would use a sort of date like that. You know what Phil's like with football. That's any child that comes within a 5-mile radius. Phil tries to kick a football around with him.
That's
so
true.
I can imagine. Football. Kick a ball. So I can imagine. Yes. So I can imagine that being a day. Look, the thing is, I know why you're annoyed about this. I know why you're annoyed about this, because you were made to look silly on social media. That's why. That's why you don't like this.
By the BBC, no less.
If you missed it, by the BBC, and quite right too. So if you missed this little gem in our this beautiful pulchritudinous moment in our social media history.
Pull that out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I tell you, it was going on my brow. I was loading that word up. I was trying to think of it. And then
the server was clicking on.
Yeah, it really was. Could you see the little buffering mark going around my head? What if you missed it? What happened was, so obviously Alfie's main thing. You know, this was like condom. Episode Mark 2, where he was basically going out looking for this video.
Alfie's greatest hit.
And Alex, being all smug, sat there with his Nintendo Switch in his hand, tweeted on the time, "Well, I don't know why Alfie doesn't just download the game. That's possible. Honestly, the EastEnders rights know nothing about like modern technology. No.
I just want to say that I did not go attack the EastEnders writers. I just said that. Attack the writers at all. Don't start that, mister. I said that Alfie should have just downloaded it. He could have just downloaded the game rather than him finding this one obsolete shop. Well, hang on. I'm putting some basis onto this now. There's one obsolete shop that he found online that apparently had a queue going down the block.
Dodgy shop. Dodgy shop down a back alleyway. That looks like he got the game from underneath the counter. It was a very dodgy looking shop.
But not, he didn't go to like a game or to any supermarket, anywhere that sells video games. They got bought out by JD Sports. So you find it's bizarre. You find a game section now in this sports shop.
Really?
That's for another day.
I
very weird.
Clearly never entered a JD Sports in my life, so I wouldn't have a clue.
I'm from a pair of joggers. I like a jogger every now and then. Anyway, so again, why are we going off? He could have gone to any shop in the whole wide world, the whole nation. There's going to be a shop that sells video games. Video games are quite a commodity. A lot of people play them nowadays. They're a multi-billion-pound industry. No. Finds this tiny little obscure little shop in the corner of nowhere where he needs to get there before they close at 9 p.m. because again, supermarkets aren't open 24 hours a day. Oh no. Only this one shop has this game. And
in London as well. In London.
See, even you're unraveling this little plot now.
I'm not in any sort of sense of disbelief that this storyline storyline wasn't a little bit nonsensical. Don't get me wrong. I just enjoyed the massive ostrich egg-shaped yolk that landed on your face this week.
No, I quite rightly said, like, you know, why don't you just download the game?
Wasn't quite rightly, was it, Alex? No.
Well, no, because then on the next episode, Tommy, and to be fair, Tommy brought up and said, like, you shouldn't have bothered.
Download it.
You just download it. And so I put my hands up and I said, well, that's me told. And I posted the picture with the quote at the bottom of it. And
fair enough.
I bowed down to the BBC. Well
Face
done.
up to your mistakes.
I do. But he's quite right, because then none of this would, if he had taken Tommy's advice, which, maybe Tommy should have shared his advice a bit earlier on, then he wouldn't have been. Yeah, he wouldn't have had to take Vi to the bingo in a hilarious scene of him driving a little bit too fast and screaming. At least Vi had a purpose this week, eh?
She did. She didn't shout too much either.
And then he gets carnapped, I guess, because a guy robs, again, very casually, this guy robs a building society and then just drives around London with Alfie. Are the police not following him? Are the police not investigating?
Walford police, you having a laugh? Walford police, don't be ridiculous.
But then Stacey, in a phone call, let slip that the kids opened up the safe and had £30,000. Alfie stupidly put it on as a voice call so the guy could hear, and then he stole the money from him. And now everyone is the worst kept secret in Albert Square. Everyone's now going up to Alfie and saying, "Oh, you better get that sorted out," because Phil's not going to be very happy when he finds out.
You're gonna get it.
And so Alfie's solution is to sell cheese on Billy's market stall.
30 grand's worth of cheese, yeah.
30 grand's worth of cheese and chocolate bars to children on the school playground.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell me at what point of that whole story you thought that was fun.
The thing, do you know what the thing is? It was very typically Alfie, and what we're getting at the moment with Alfie is
I don't want that, though.
That's you, isn't it? That's you. Some people are enjoying it. Some people
comment below if you're enjoying Alfie.
What do we always say, Alex? What do we always say about our opinions? We're
not the gatekeepers. We're not the gatekeepers.
No.
I appreciate some people are enjoying Alfie. Tell me how you're enjoying Alfie, Rob. Tell me.
Do let us know in the comment section. But I mean, you know.
No, you.
But I didn't hate it. I kind of guessed what we were going to be getting. I think I just sort of accepted it. I didn't fight against it. I just took it.
Story of your life.
So, yeah, right. I just accepted it and took it for what it was. You know, it was a bit silly. I think my biggest complaint will have been is that, especially on Monday, I don't think it gelled particularly well with the Amy story. Would be my biggest complaint about it.
Oh God, no!
Monday especially, I did find it a little bit jarring because I kind of thought, well, Amy, you know, they could have just done a really sort of heavy, hard-hitting episode on Monday and just really focused heavily on the Amy stuff, and then maybe sort of dovetailed into the other stuff for the rest of the week. That might have might have cleansed the palate a little bit more for the Alfie stuff, you know. So I think that was my biggest complaint. I think that might have kind of made it a little bit easier to take, you know. But yeah, it was daft. It was silly. It was very silly. And yeah, I don't really understand how Alfie thought that selling cheese and chocolate was going to get him 30 grand. That's been taken. No. Sorry, go on.
Well,
the other thing was the guy that burgled the car. It's been really annoying me all week. I recognised him from somewhere. I've got no idea where. He had a really recognisable face. He's clearly one of these actors that kind of does the rounds on lots of like bit parts on British TV. But if anyone knows in the comment section what that guy has been in, tell me, because it's been driving me mental. I went on his IMDb and I didn't really recognise any shows that he won in, but yeah, I really, really recognise him. So please let me know who he is and what he's done, because it was driving me mental. I
feel like that you've kind of like proven my point that the story was that kind of like inane that you spent all your time trying to find out who the actor who was in the car rather than taking any attention of what Alfie was doing throughout the plot.
This is where you go into Piers Morgan mode. You realise that, don't you?
I know. I'm going to start criticising your Facebook profile picture soon and say, well, how can you be taken seriously if your profile picture's there?
Calling me woke.
Yeah, you woke. Woke snowflake.
I am
falling from the sky.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is what it is, I think, is applicable here. It is what it is.
It is what it is, but this is my point. It's like that was what we used to say about the Sen era. This is what it is. We'll just get on with it. We'll just tolerate it. It's what we have to get through to get to maybe some of the ounce of good parts. And it's like, no, we've had so much good recently. I don't want to have to plow through this story and there's just the amount of screen time. It was like unwarranted as well. There were scenes when just you didn't need them in there.
I don't agree. I'm sorry, I don't agree. I think you're being a little bit harsh here. I think that, Alfie is Alfie, and, what I would ask you what the hell you were expecting when Alfie came back.
But this is the point.
And I know you were overly keen on Alfie coming back. So, but that's my thinking, though. Like, if you kind of just going to think, right, Alfie's back, this is clearly what we're going to get, especially at the moment. But
genuinely,
it was made very clear that Alfie, when he returned, was going to be kind of early days Alfie. Now, whether that suits the current Alfie is another point altogether.
Yeah, but I think this is early days Alfie. Early days Alfie is what he was doing in the Vic. And I didn't 100% love it, but at the same time, I got on board with it because it made sense. And it's obvious what they're doing. They're going to bring Alfie back and he's going to run the Vic. So when it gets to that, perhaps then I'll be a bit more comfortable with seeing early days Alfie. But I don't feel like we're in early days Alfie. I think at the moment we're in starting a fire while smoking a cigarette and having your wife burnt in a house fire, Alfie, kind of like making a lot of mistakes, making a lot of silly mistakes in order to kind of patch up things in order to try to make people, I don't know. It's not sitting well with me. And I know you're going to say, and you're right. I wasn't, when the announcement that Alfie was coming back, I didn't, get the confetti gun and go, woohoo. No. I was a bit like, is Alfie really needed now?
Yes.
But I have gone into it, and I genuinely have gone into it giving it a chance and wanting it to be okay. And until now, it's been fine. But this week, and again, if perhaps it was because it was very jarring with other plots and other stories.
Yeah, I think.
But the Whitney and Finley and Felix stuff, I didn't particularly love it. But at the same time, I got it and I was on board and I enjoyed it. This I did not enjoy. And the whole time I was just like, there was times when something was happening and I was just not paying it any attention. I was just like, really? No. But again, as you say, I'm not the gatekeeper. You're not the gatekeeper. We're not the gatekeepers of the show. And maybe some people loved it. So please comment below. Get in touch with us on Twitter, on Instagram, on all our social medias. Let us know if you enjoyed it and what you enjoyed about it. Tell me how wrong I am, because I do enjoy that. I got told off by the BBC this week.
Not as much as I do. I love it when people do that. Don't get me wrong. I understand why you feel that way. I get everything. I get everything that you said, and I completely appreciate it. What I would say is, I think the key thing about this was the fact that I don't think it gelled particularly well with the heavy stuff with Amy. I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to do a bit of light and dark with it. Unfortunately, I think because they were such polar opposites, because the Amy storyline is about as dark a storyline as you can go to, and I think this sort of was kind of them trying to do a bit of farce almost, wasn't it? It was kind of farcical in a lot of ways. So I don't think they gelled particularly well. So maybe that's why it felt particularly jarring and why it felt so kind of difficult to watch.
I mean, obviously they're doing it to move on a story with Alfie. As I said, they're doing a story with Kat and Alfie and Phil, so there's a purpose for it to happen. Maybe any other week it might have felt a little bit different. I just think there was a moment this week where Janine and Linda were having an argument about how they were going to set up the World Cup. I would have found that more entertaining and funnier. I quite liked that scene when you saw Linda and Janine arguing over the size of the television and where the television should be positioned and something like that. Like silly little scenes like that, I would have felt more comfortable watching, to kind of, as you say, cleanse the palate, cleanse the planet. Yeah, why not? You can do anything, old cleaners. I don't know. It felt a bit stark, but anyway.
Well, there we are then. So let us know. So as always, let us know what you thought in the comments section below. And let us know what you thought of the whole week. Do you think all the stories gelled together? I think the problem is sublime to the ridiculous, and that's kind of where we fell. And Alfie is quite an extreme character in himself in terms of how ridiculous Alfie can get. Not all characters realistically could carry off an entire episode where their search is for a condom. And it depends. And I think it depends on what you even thought of that sort of era of Alfie. It depends on what on what you get at the moment. I don't know. Let's stick your Alfie thoughts in the comment section or by any of our social media outlets. That was another week in EastEnders. Overall, I think a pretty damn good week. I think the good outdid the bad. I would argue. There you go. No,
one out of three ain't bad. Eh?
There you
two on a cusp. But then that's it. That's why we have
There you go.
different views. That's the whole
How
point of the
boring
podcast.
would it be? Yeah. And I can guarantee that there'll be sections of the internet that will be criticising both of us right now. They'll love this episode.
Loving
They
it.
love
Please
it.
do.
Love it. They love it. I love throwing shade Alex's way. They love doing it my way. They'll be
juicy,
chomping at the bit. Chomping at the bit. So you can contact us on any of the social media outlets, which we should be giving you right after I Want to Gossip.
You know me, I ain't want to gossip.
As always, it's the part of the show where we read out your emails, we talk about your comments and any news that have broke this week concerning soaps, EastEnders, anything like that. We will be talking about the big news story that actually broke about Neighbour's return to Freevee, Amazon's streaming platform, after we've read out a couple of emails. So starting off with Lauren Childs, and also an email from Life of Mustafa. They're both actually very similar ilks, so I'm going to read them both and then we can answer the questions about them.
I'll get comfortable then, shall I?
Yes, get comfortable. Here we go. So Lauren says, I have to say that I'm finding the Alfie return actually quite boring to watch. I remember really enjoying his character back in 2002, 2005, but it's just a stale character that seems like a waste of screen time in this era. I don't want him to get the Vic, but I'll be really disappointed if Kat and Alfie get back together too. I think I just want him off the screen. Now, this actually links to this other email that says, with Mick's exit not long away, of course, speculation is going on about who's next to take over the Vic, whether Linda will remain or Alfie will take over. I guess they would only have brought Alfie in if it would be fit to take over as the landlord. However, I have my own personal opinion on who should, and also would like to know your thoughts on who should or shouldn't. I think Kathy should be the next in line for the throne, in my opinion. Kathy has taken a back seat for a long while, and I think giving the Vic to her would actually open the character up to more storylines because it puts you at the forefront of the show and lots of stories. She is also one of the only elder matriarchs left now, so actually would be a natural fit. Oh, I know we're used to seeing her in the cafe, and that's always been hers, but I actually think that would herald a new era of the show, sort of to be reminiscent of the strong matriarch character like Peggy or Pat behind the bar. I also think with Rocky being an Alfie substitute character as well, and also being a fan favourite, it would work quite well than being in the Vic. Thank you to both those emails. There is more detail. If you're watching us, you can see the full emails on the screen as I was reading them. But this is my question. Alfie, we said, probably being brought back to take over the Vic, but do you actually feel like he is the right fit for it? And would you like to see Rocky perhaps taking over the role?
Do you know what? I didn't think
else?
about Kathy. I've never thought about Kathy being behind the bar of the Vic, but actually that would be an amazing fit. That would be such a kind of testament to her character. Actually, that's the ultimate reward for your long years of service to stick behind the Vic, because Ian got it for a bit, didn't he? Sharon's had it. The only long runner that hasn't worked behind the bar of the Vic. Well, I'm sure she hasn't. She's done a shift as a barmaid at some point. I'm sure at some point, but like actually owning the Vic, that would be great. Would be really good for Kathy. And I said when Rocky was working behind the bar at one point, I thought, oh, well, he works really well behind there. So actually, Kathy and Rocky would be a great fit. I'd be happy with that. But to anyone that's saying that I don't want Alfie to own the Vic and I don't want him to get back together with Kat, I feel that you're in for a huge plethora of disappointments, because that's clearly what he has been brought back for. And we said when Alfie first came back, and we were talking about, it kind of worked. It was happening at the same time as it was announced that Mick was leaving, and it was sort of, you kind of put two and two together, and you kind of thought, well, that makes sense, doesn't it? That does make sense for Alfie to come back and just sort of step into the old Vic landlord shoes. I mean, it always depends on what your thoughts on Alfie are as a character, aren't you? I think he can be quite a one of those characters that sort of, what's the word I'm looking for when two different opinions? My brain's turned off. What's the word I'm looking for? Begins with D. What's the word? Divide.
That's
the one.
Viewers.
Divisive.
Divisive.
What? Yeah, pulchritudinous rolls off my tongue, but divisive, not a clue. I think it does. He can be quite a divisive character in a lot of ways, and I think depending on what your views are on Alfie, depends on whether you think he'd be a good fit for the Vic. I do think that it makes sense for him to be behind the bar of the Vic, at least as a caretaker landlord. I don't think we need a brand new era of Alfie and Kat behind the Vic, I'll be honest, but it seems that's definitely what we're getting for now. But Kathy and Rocky, that's fired up some synapses in my brain. I quite like the idea of that now.
When I got that email from Life Mustafa, I felt the same way. It was like, actually, don't think about it. It feels like it would be very tricky and almost shoehorned, the fact that Kathy would be able to get it, especially considering she's kind of complaining about money problems right now.
She works everywhere else.
But yes, but she does. Yeah, she has quite a little empire. She's like mother, like son.
She's worse than Phil and the Panasars put together. She owns half the square.
The thing is, she doesn't do it through violent means.
She doesn't do it. She just gets on with it as an honest woman of Labour. That's
no Kathy shenanigans from her. No. But it does remind me also that, like, you know, Rocky was introduced in the show, and he is almost like a kind of an Alfie substitute.
Alfie.
So again, was there any need for Alfie's return? But actually, the reason why I brought up these emails is because I want to know, like, is there any? Yeah, don't worry. Is that I'm not going to labour the point. Don't worry. But is there anyone else who you'd like to see take over the Vic? Because really, the options there. Who could take it?
I mean, we had this discussion when this was first being announced, and we kind of both thought, well, actually, is there really anybody that could step forward and take over? Because Sharon has just kind of come out of it. Sharon just tends to go behind there to do a storyline for whatever storyline purposes, but never really gets her own sort of time there. She would work as a landlady, like a long-term landlady, I think, but she never really gets that opportunity. And obviously, at some point, she's going to end up getting back together with Phil. So and Phil cannot be trusted behind that bar because he sets fire to it and things. So you can't put Phil back behind there again.
Oh yeah, give him some crack and Phil will have that place burnt down in a minute.
So yeah, I mean, obviously the other big family is the Panasars. But do you know what?
They're in their own story now, aren't they?
They've got their own stuff, and I don't know if they need the Vic, to be honest. And I don't know if they would suit the Vic, because I don't know if the types of stories that the Panasars get would suit the Vic. I feel like the Vic, imagine, you think of that, and your brain goes to Peggy, who was like the most famous landlady of the Vic, and you kind of think, well, Peggy was no angel. So I don't know.
What about Sam?
I think that Sam suits bars more than the pub. Personally, I like her own. Well, I like the idea of her owning something like Peggy's, for instance, and that name has finally settled in my brain with not too much battle. But I do think that that suits her more. It's the same I felt when Janine came back, and I was expecting a bit of a longer stint for Janine. I can imagine Janine owning a club or something. Same as Kim. Kim should own the Albert. Really, that's more her ilk, and that's her spirit. It's her spirit home, I think. So I mean, get used to the idea that Alfie's going to own the bit. We've had no confirmation of this whatsoever, but it seems like a fairly obvious sort of easy thing to do, especially because the Carters have been a popular fixture of the Vic for 9 years. We were reminded either this week or last week, wasn't it? It's been 9 years since the Carters arrived.
Isn't it? I remember their arrival as well. Wasn't it Christmas Day or Boxing Day they came onto the show?
Laughing through a duff for their first appearance. That was mental, wasn't it? Remember, like even Danny Dyer was like, "This is madness. I can't come into EastEnders and start laughing at a duff." But I think to write in the ship, it would make sense to kind of put someone that we know works in there, and Alfie does work in there, because we've seen him do it before. No matter what you think of his character, he does work in that sort of environment, sort of being the man on stage, the man on show. Charlie agrees.
Charlie's having a bit of screaming downstairs as well. He's a fan of Alfie, you see, so he's getting upset with me.
Oh, see, there you go. So I think
cat, he's a cat.
Exactly. See what you did.
I'm there for thinking, down there for dancing.
So yeah, I think that's about it, really. Just get used to the fact that Alfie is at least at some point going to have the Vic for a little while. It may well be that Clenners came in and was just like, there's only one person I want behind the bar of that Vic, and got straight on the phone to Shane Ritchie.
God damn it, give me Shane Ritchie on the line right now.
And basically.
But Chris, are you sure?
James Barrow, take your top off. Kelly Fenwick, get in here and get Shane Ritchie on the phone right now.
Have you seen him when I'm a celebrity?
That could have been it, So, but do let us know in the comment section, as always. Who would your dream characters be behind the bar of the Vic? Let us know in the comment section below. And now on to a news story, which is very exciting for fans of Neighbours. And I remember we discussed this. We discussed Neighbours being cancelled because it literally only happened a few months ago. And
it was around the same time as Holby City as well, wasn't it?
It did. So you see Holby City fans.
Netflix are on. Netflix are on.
Right, Amazon. We're here as well. Even Davood is sat there saying, "Well, we got higher viewing figures."
Well, he tweeted,
"Hi, we're over here."
Yeah. Well, Davood tweeted it, and we were like, "Well, Davood, you really should still be on EastEnders." But again, that's for another
discussion. That's for another discussion. But yes, Neighbours has Neighbours has been saved, and we will stick a screenshot above some news story right here. Neighbours has been saved by Amazon and will be airing from next year on their streaming service Freevee. Now, I'm not going to lie, I've never heard of Freevee in my life. Never heard of it. Never heard of it at all. Have you? I've never heard of it.
Apparently a lot of people in the UK haven't, because we were watching an interview just before we started recording this morning on BBC Breakfast. They did an interview with the guy, I don't know his name. He plays Toady Rebecca on Neighbours.
Ryan somebody or other, I think his name is.
Cool, that's a complicated name.
He was on Big Brother.
Something or nothing. He basically said that Amazon are using it as a kind of a relaunch platform for their Freevee service in the UK. But there's a few things that kind of stuck out when they released it. First of all, they called it, they're bringing back a new series. So is this going to become like a 24 episode episodic thing rather than a soap?
Yeah.
And also they're releasing their classic or some classic episodes. They're not doing the full like classics like they are with these
40 years worth. That would be insane.
Really, I'd love that. I'd consider starting a Neighbours Classic podcast if that was to happen.
Erinsborough Weekly. Is that right?
Erinsborough Classic Weekly. Bring back Helen Daniels. That's what I say. Get her out of the grave. You saying about Ronnie and Roxy? Bring back her.
I mean, the big discussion point here is the fact that obviously they're talking about doing this in, like you say, in terms of series, a bit like when Dallas returned. I mean, I think Dallas always did do that, but in terms of like, they'll do like, I don't know,
almost Americanized.
Like they'll do it like an era of 26 episodes per season or something like that, and they'll do it that way. Now, what does this suggest for the future of soaps? You know, at the moment, the soaps are kind of just trudging along, doing their thing, but in a few years' time, as the TV landscape continues to change and streaming services kind of keep building and terrestrial TV slowly starts to fade away, what are the future of soaps? In terms of genre and stuff, I think, you know, this week, specifically with the Amy storyline, it shows that there is still a place for soaps to kind of do their thing and talk to us and give us information and entertain us and all that kind of thing. But is there a future, do you think, for EastEnders to be thrown on, I don't know, something like, I mean, we talk about, you know, box setting iPlayer, and let's be honest, with the World Cup coming up, we may be talking about that fairly soon. I don't know if it's confirmed, but it seems quite likely. But do you think, you know, seasons of EastEnders, would that work? How do you feel, how do you reckon that could work?
I mean, if it keeps the show alive and it keeps it going, then yes, I'd welcome that. Not a problem at all. I mean, again, we kind of have a variant of it with Casualty and of Hobby City, may rest in peace, where it used to be a weekly soap. It was considered a serial drama rather than a soap, which a lot of people say, oh, that's just because the BBC are a bit snotty and they don't like using the term soap. No, it wasn't really a soap. It was more of a serial drama. So they'd have one episode a week, but there was no break in production. So there'd be 52 episodes a year. So for anyone who's just worked it out, 52 weeks in a year.
If anyone just worked that out, thanks.
Well, it's me. I'm talking to people like myself, you know, and I know I'd just be sitting there going,
water raining from the sky.
And there we go. But I wonder if that's what they'll do. Perhaps they'll just release one episode a week, because they did mention also that in Australia they're putting it on network. I think it's called Network 10 in Australia. Any Australian listeners, let me know. It's on. It was shown on a channel called 10 Peach in Australia, which is kind of like the sister channel to 10. But it's now going back to their main channel when they start releasing the Amazon episodes, the Amazon era, I guess you could call it. And it's going to be aired on 10 first, then it's going to be shown on Freevee afterwards. So there's kind of an exclusivity contract there. I mean, I think that's the only way you could do a soap, though, isn't it, on a streaming service? Because you couldn't release an episode a day. That just would be. It seems a bit weird.
It would madness, and it would sort of just defeat the point of doing it that way as well, wouldn't it? So I think, probably weekly is probably the right way to do it. But then again, the binge watching era is upon us as well. Like, people will be quite happy to work their way through a season in a couple of days, you know.
But you say that, you see. But I've been watching so many documentaries this week. You have no idea. Yeah, ooh. I was watching a documentary about the future of streaming services, because a lot of them are now doing like advertising as part of a package. You pay to get an advert on Netflix, I think is nuts. That you're still paying $4.99 and you get adverts.
No. It's outrageous.
Anyway, that's for another day, another discussion. But what streaming services are now trying to do, and it's something that kind of started off with Disney Plus, is they're now deliberately releasing episodes weekly, because they realize that when they start putting a whole series on at once. People buy a subscription for a month, watch that series, and then leave again. And so this is the other thing. So now this kind of like just dropping it all at once seems to be a relic of the past for streaming services. So again, it kind of might work quite nicely. I mean, I think a Netflix or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I mean, the thing is, I think with all this, even though it feels like streaming and those sorts of sites have been around for hundreds of years, the whole kind of era of it is still very much in its infancy, isn't it? They're still trying to work out exactly how audiences want to view their programs and how that can work for them. Because at the end of the day, it's a business model. That's always going to come first.
Where they used to
on Twitter,
God, destroying it slowly. I mean, Netflix for the last few years and other streaming services have always dictated how. Yeah. We watch television. Now it's starting that we're now starting to tell them how we're watching television by showing it with our pockets, by showing how we're spending and paying our way into getting these streaming services. So now I think, as you say, now they're having to kind of stand back, rethink getting their think tanks back out again. And how do we retain an audience? And I mean, there's an argument there where, maybe a soap is one way of retaining audience. Amazon clearly think that that's one way of getting people to start using their service. It's a free service. Don't forget though, Amazon Freevee, it's in the name. Yeah. But it means that more people would then traffic would maybe go toward Amazon Prime and people might be more inclined to then pay $7.99. But also Amazon will be making money from advertisers. The All 4, which is later going to be changed to Channel 4 streaming. It's a free service. They're making money from advertising. It must be doing well because Channel 4 have kept it as a free service. They've not given you an offer, a way of doing it as a premium as well. ITVX, for instance, they've completely rebranded themselves as this new free service, which you can, if you want to, top up. So I think that, soap is a constant. It's a way of getting people, if the genre can kind of like start to have a resurgence of popularity, it's a way of pulling people in and to keep people on a subscription base. So actually, I think I still find it weird that Amazon have bought it, but I think it's quite a savvy way of getting an audience to retain an audience and perhaps keep the coffers coming in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that anybody that has in charge of a soap at the moment, BBC, ITV, Channel 4, I think they will be looking very carefully as to how this goes.
Bring back Brookside.
I'd love it.
Just for the theme tune.
Yeah, best theme tune. Oh, I love the theme tune to Brookside. So let us know what you think in the comment section below. And I'm very pleased, genuinely, for the cast, the crew, and the fans of Neighbours, because what a great bit of news that would have been for them.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm genuinely delighted for them.
Are you going to start watching it? Or are you going to watch the first episode, see what it's like? I mean, that's probably another thing. Well, did you watch the final episode on Channel 5 when they kind of just wrapped it all up?
What would have been the point? I didn't know any of them. I didn't know any of them.
Yeah, but even if you watched it a little bit. I've never watched a single episode.
I've never watched a single episode of Neighbours. Okay, I know, Charlene and Scott's wedding, and I know a dog had a dream at one point. And that's really... And then Madge and Harold, I know that, and I know Harold had amnesia for a bit, which I think was a dangerous storyline to throw into any soap, but
he got it back.
Yeah, exactly. So that's about all I know about EastEnders, about Neighbours. So
it was good though. The final episode,
I'm sure
it was a good nostalgic kick. I mean, I think I said this before. I watched it in the 80s, kind of had a break. Then when I was at college, me and my mates used to watch it, and it was kind of like a kind of kitsch thing to watch. Like we'd go into the college the next day and kind of laugh about like what's happened, but kind of still had this affection toward it. Like Paul Robinson had twin sons and one of them wanted him to die. That was just brilliant. I love that story. But so I will definitely be watching the classics on Freevee. I think that's again a canny move. Canny move. But I just think it's just one other thing is that they kind of wrapped up really nicely on Channel 5 on the final episode. So how are they going to unwrap? Because a lot of the stories kind of were with characters that came back just to kind of complete them. Now they're going to get those old characters back again.
Neighbours will do a Harold Bishop and just sort of lose its memory for a little bit, and then it will come
out of the shower and like none of that happened.
Yeah, exactly. Kylie Minogue will be there, having just moved in,
saying nothing.
So, but let us know in the comments section below. What do you think this means for the future of soaps? Is there a future for streaming soaps in the way that Amazon Freevee will be doing it? Let us know in the comment section below, or by doing any of the following: by contacting us on Twitter and Instagram at Walford Weekly. You can find us on Facebook at Walford Weekly Podcast. On YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to get notifications about our spoiler videos for EastEnders and Corrie. Apparently, we do that now. Who knew? And you can email us on robwalfordweekly@gmail.com or alexwalfordweekly@gmail.com. Oh, yeah, we did a Corrie spoiler video this week. I had no idea this was coming. I thought I'd woken up in a fever dream when that appeared on my mobile phone. I had no idea.
I would just say to anyone who follows and subscribes us, it's a work in progress, and I have no power over it whatsoever. So just let it carry
Clueless.
on. Honestly,
No, as a platform, all three of us really have a great methods of communication. We all talk to each other all the time.
Well, I live with the person who does the spoilers, and I just let them get on with it. So
yeah, there you go.
We'll see. We'll see. Never know.
We'll see. It might be a new thing. Yeah, it might be a new thing. We do it for you. If you like it, we do it. Within reason.
Comment below. Let us know. Did you like it? Did you watch it?
No, not even within reason. We'll do anything for money. We don't care.
I literally would and have.
Literally will and have done anything for money. So there we are then. Alex, it's been a lovely week discussing it with you. I think like EastEnders, we started off very kind of sane and sensibly and then went off into the sublime and ridiculous. So that's if anything, we are in parallel. We are in parallel with each other. So there we are. Until next time, darling viewers and listeners, it is goodbye from me.
Darling, and it's goodbye from myself. See you later.
Mwah.
Have a lovely week.
Pretentious. Mwah. Bye.